My name is Jonathan Sorum. I'm professor of historical and systematic theology at Christ School of Theology. I am a pastor. I was ordained in 1981 in the American Lutheran Church and served congregations for 22 years. I've also served overseas in an academic position in Bratislava in Slovakia. I'm married. I have two children, two grown children, two grandchildren. Well, as I said, I was a parish pastor, and I was a full-time parish pastor for many years. But then I really have felt a call to teach almost all my adult life. And when I was finished with seminary, I also wanted to learn more. I just had my appetite whetted, even though I had a good seminary education. And so after 9 years as a parish pastor, I applied for a PhD program in theology, which I completed then in 4 years and was able to get my PhD. And I was hoping to start an academic career, but that didn't work out right away. A very competitive area, of course. So I did a little part-time teaching. Again, I was serving a congregation full-time or mostly full-time. And then the opportunity came to teach full-time overseas. I kind of had to do it the hard way to get my academic career going in terms of teaching. I had to do it in a foreign language that I had never studied before, and a really difficult one. So I had to learn Slovak. And I started out teaching with an interpreter, but then I gradually moved into it and was able finally to conduct not only classes, but seminars. I was at the Evangelical Theological Faculty in Bratislava in Slovakia. I was there for 6 years. I also served a couple of congregations after that when I came back to the United States. And then as I was serving in the second congregation, the opportunity came for me also to work part-time with Christ School of Theology, which I did, and then moved full-time to Christ School of Theology in 2014, and I've been there since. So it's been a wonderful time for me. It's a calling. It's one that I've felt a long time. It's one that I've pursued. It's adjacent to and supportive of my other calling, which was a pastor. And so now I have the call, I believe, to help people who are preparing for ministry, and also people who are in ministry and want to improve their knowledge and their skills and their understanding, and especially their self-understanding as ministers of the Word of God. Well, I certainly do see this as serving God. And in fact, that's a big part of what I am exploring theologically, which is this whole idea of vocation, of being called by God, and trying to put together what that means in terms of uh, of our calling that actually calls us. And when Christ calls us, he calls us in certain directions, that there is constraint in that calling, but there's also freedom. In other words, I go out there, I do it, I do my teaching, I do my writing, and I offer it up as an offering to God. Like Romans 12 says, I offer it up, but who knows? I don't have the final judgment on it. I don't know if God is going to use it or not, or if it's, or how God is going to use it. And so I have a particular direction. I have a constraint within which I work, but within that constraint, I work in freedom. So this is one of my main themes right now, constraint and freedom, and how those two go together. And I really believe that's really central to the Christian life. Well, my primary field of study is systematic theology, and systematic theology understood as the kind of theology that, well, understanding theology as that which is preparatory to and which prepares the way for and leads up to the ministry of the gospel. So, and that proclamation in all its forms. So I'm not interested in making lots of, a system where everything, fits together or whatever. What I'm interested to do is thinking in a disciplined way about how we interpret the Bible and how that issues forth in the church's message. So obviously that goes very deeply into what our students are preparing themselves to do and what they are doing. Most of our students are already in ministry. So my main influence and what I wrote my dissertation on was the theology of Dietrich Bonhoeffer. So I teach a seminar on Bonhoeffer. I found him to be a wonderful source, a continual treasure accompanying me both in my parish ministry and in my teaching. I am deeply Lutheran in my theology. I'm very interested in ethics, as you might guess, because of what I said about vocations. I'm very interested in that. I'm very interested in so the Christian life and those kinds of areas. I'm very interested in hermeneutics. So, and now also in understanding, and this has been in the last, years, is understanding what it means to do apologetics under the cross. In my own training, since my teachers were basically creatures of, descendants theologically of Karl Barth, we never did apologetics at all. And so now I think I need to come back and revisit some of those questions, not in terms of argumentation or, winning arguments or something, but rather asking a different questions such as how can we engage people who are living in our age in which God is optional? How can we engage people for the sake of the gospel? How do we come alongside people? How do we build bridges? How do we start conversations? So that's the kind of apologetics I'm interested in. So those are my interests right now. I think I fell into them as well as decided. The biggest influence theologically on me was a systematics professor when I was a seminarian. So, that I was always, and also temperamentally, I think that's where I belong. I love studying the Bible, but I'm not a details person. I'm more of a big idea person. So that's what drew me there. And these particular topics were always drawing me on because I'm animated very much by Bonhoeffer's question about the concrete nature of the Christian message and the concrete nature of the gospel. And I've never been satisfied by the answers that I have, and that drives me on. And also, I've been, deeply troubled by the fact that we seem to have, in our Reformation church, in our Lutheran church, we have this wonderful answer for a question that nobody is asking. So something's gone wrong, and we have to get back to the most basic issues. To do that, we have to be theological, and that's, I guess, my most basic struggle throughout my ministry and throughout my teaching career is I've always been an advocate of being theological, and fighting for the right to be theological. And that's what I mean by being theological, that we get down to the very deep question about God that are at the root of what we are doing as the church and what's going on in society as well. So this has been my plea always, that we could have going back to Karl Barth again, and he's a guy that I also am making friends with again, that we can have a theological existence today, where theology is about the last thing anybody wants to do, right? But we can have a theological existence today. That's what I'm hoping to do, and that's what I fight for. Well, I really love teaching the class on the Lutheran confessions. And the reason is, or one of the reasons is, every time I teach it, I learn. And I'm more in wonder and more grateful at the great heritage that we have from the Reformation, and the treasure that's really contained in those books, in those documents, and going deeper and deeper into them every year. And I think being able to open them up more and more clearly to students, which is what I hope is happening, that we can see, and here's my theme in that course, is that Lutheranism is essentially a movement in pastoral care. And it started out in the confessional, and then it came out into the chancel, into the pulpit. It came out into the whole wide world. It shook up the whole world, and it still sets us on a trajectory for being able to speak the gospel that actually sets troubled consciences at rest. The glory of Christ glorifies Christ, and comfort for troubled consciences. And we have to translate that a bit from the medieval language, which we have there, and from that setting in life. Students seem to have a way of doing that. They see a way forward that gets, at least some of them get very excited about, and understanding that we can have a sacramental understanding of the word, a word understanding of the sacrament, and that we can understand that our certainty is based on that alien righteousness of Christ and that external word. And we rest there. And if we rest there, then the whole world opens to us as God's word.